I discovered my husband was secretly becoming a landlord with money stolen from me for 10 years. I, 34F, never questioned our financial arrangement. Not really. When we first got married, he was adamant about keeping separate accounts. It's better this way, he'd say. Less fighting about money. It made sense at the time. We were both independent, both had careers, and I'd heard enough divorce horror stories from friends to understand the appeal of financial autonomy. For 10 years, we lived in relative harmony. We split the major bills proportionately based on income. He handled the mortgage and utilities. I covered groceries, insurance, and our daughter's expenses. We each maintained our own spending money, retirement accounts, and savings. It seemed fair, transparent even. Until it wasn't. The first hint came during tax season last April. I noticed a discrepancy in our joint filing. His reported income seemed significantly higher than what I thought he made. When I casually mentioned it, he brushed it off. Year-end bonus, he muttered, barely looking up from his phone. Forgot to mention it. I might have let it go if not for what happened the following week. His laptop was open on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower. A notification popped up. Payment of $4,300 received. The sender's name was unfamiliar, and the amount substantial. That night, I found myself lying awake, staring at the ceiling. Was I being paranoid? 10 years of marriage, and I'd never questioned our arrangement. But something felt off. The next morning, I tried to access our mortgage statement online and realized I didn't have the password. Come to think of it, I'd never seen the actual mortgage statement. He always just told me the amount, and I transferred my share to his account. Hey, I said casually over dinner. Can I get the login for the mortgage? I want to check something for the taxes. His fork paused midway to his mouth. Why do you need that? Just want to verify some numbers. Tax deduction for the interest. He hesitated. I'll print it out for you. I'd prefer to have the login, I insisted. In case I need to check something else. The silence stretched between us. Finally, he shrugged. Fine. I'll text it to you tomorrow. But tomorrow came and went. So did the next day and the next. When I reminded him, he had an excuse ready. He'd forgotten. The system was down. He needed to reset the password. By the third reminder, anxiety had morphed into suspicion. That night, while he slept, I did something I'd never done before. I took his phone and used his fingerprint to unlock it. The guilt was overwhelming, but so was the need to know. What I found changed everything. His banking app revealed not one but 3 separate accounts. The statements showed regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Large sums, thousands each month, disappearing into the ether. And the mortgage? It was significantly less than what he'd been telling me for years. I scrolled through months of statements, my hands trembling. The pattern was clear. He had been systematically overcharging me for shared expenses while building a secret financial life. Over 10 years, the difference amounted to over $80,000 of my money. The next morning, I waited until he left for work. Then I called a financial advisor and a lawyer. The confrontation that evening was unlike anything we'd experienced in our decade together. I laid out the evidence calmly, asking for an explanation. At first, he denied it. Then, seeing the statements in front of him, he became defensive. It's my money, he insisted. I earned it. No, I corrected him. You've been charging me more than my fair share for years. That's my money. His expression hardened. I needed a safety net. You never know what might happen. A safety net from what? From me? Your wife. The mother of your child. The conversation deteriorated from there. He accused me of spying. I accused him of theft. Our daughter, thankfully, was at a sleepover, spared from witnessing the collapse of her parents' trust. By midnight, he was sleeping in the guest room, and I was researching divorce laws in our state. The following days were a blur of consultations. My lawyer confirmed what I already knew. This was financial infidelity, possibly fraud. My financial advisor helped me secure my remaining assets and calculate the full extent of the deception. A week later, he moved out. Our daughter asked questions we weren't prepared to answer. How do you explain to a 9-year-old that money, or rather, the trust it represents, can destroy a marriage? As the divorce proceedings began, more revelations surfaced. The unknown account belonged to a property management company. My husband had been purchasing rental properties with the surplus, for in total, generating substantial passive income that he never disclosed. I was building our future, he claimed during mediation. I would have told you eventually. Our future. I laughed bitterly. You mean your safety net from me? The irony wasn't lost on me. The very system he'd insisted would protect our marriage had become the evidence that destroyed it. 3 months later, the settlement was finalized. I received my share of the hidden assets, plus damages for the fraudulent misrepresentation. The rental properties were liquidated, the profits divided. Our daughter now shuttles between 2 households, carrying a lesson about trust that no child should have to learn. As for me, I'm rebuilding. New apartment, new financial advisor, new boundaries. Sometimes I wonder if I should have questioned our arrangement sooner. If I had pushed for transparency from the beginning, would we still be together? Or was his need for financial secrecy a symptom of something deeper? A fundamental inability to trust, to truly merge his life with mine? I don't have those answers. What I do know is this: marriage isn't just the union of two people. It's the union of their values, their futures, their trust. And sometimes, all it takes is a bank statement to reveal the truth about what you've really built together. In my case, it wasn't much at all.